"How does it feel to drive the new Mustang Mach-E?" asked a passerby as I loaded my belongings into the rear seat of the four-door electric SUV. I paused for a few seconds while resting one hand on the door and summed it up in 3 words: "It feels spectacular." "Oh yeah? How so?" he continued. "The build quality, comfort, performance, technology, and styling are all impressive," I said. "In due time, Ford is going to give Tesla a run for its money," I added. Of course, it already has, in our extremely close recent comparison test between the two automakers. The brief conversation took place in Palm Springs, an idyllic setting for an electric stallion in vibrant rapid red to roam the palm tree-lined streets emissions-free. Just the night before, I had immersed myself in a thrilling night drive behind the wheel of our Mach-E test vehicle near the port of Long Beach. Previously, we tested an all-wheel drive 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E equipped with the extended range battery option. This test puts us in the driver's seat of a rear-wheel drive Mach-E with the premium trim package. Our Mach-E has a standard range 68 kWh battery pack that feeds power to a single electric motor mounted on the rear axle and a 1-speed transmission that drives the rear wheels. This model generates 266 horsepower and 317 pounds-foot and is good for an EPA-rated 230 miles of range on a charge. Getting lucky on a Saturday night means escaping to an area where there are virtually no other cars. The surrounding roads, loops, overpasses, and a new bridge near the Long Beach harbor were the perfect proving grounds for test driving the Mach-E naysayers can yammer on, but this electric Mustang is one hell of a sporty ride. When accelerating hard through turns, it's easy to balance the car on the edge of a slide as you balance the accelerator and steering. Of the 3 available drive modes, unbridled, which normal people would call sport, adds extra punch, so that was the default for the night. One-pedal driving takes some getting used to. Nonetheless, the braking in this mode is outstanding. At slower speeds, there was no need to mash the brake pedal at stop signs or traffic lights. On curving roads, the Mach-E electric SUV reveals its precise steering and handling. How did the rear-drive Mach-E perform during our instrumented testing? The team recorded a best 0 to 60 mph run of 6.0 seconds, 1.2 seconds behind the dual-motor Mach-E 4X. On the Figure 8 course, it logged a lap in 26.8 seconds at 0.65 average G, 0.6 second and 0.04 grams off the 4X pace. Stopping from 60 mph took 118 feet, 9 feet longer than the odd version. Compared to that 384 horsepower Model Y dual-motor long range we previously tested, the 266 horsepower rear-drive Mach-E is 1.9 seconds slower to 60 mph, a closer result than you might expect given the all-wheel drive Tesla's traction and power advantages. Interestingly, both the Model Y and Mach-E RWD require the same stopping distance of 118 feet from 60 mph. The next task was to leave town to see about this perceived obstacle in the EV space known as range anxiety. The idea of driving an all-electric vehicle on a long trip could sound daunting at first, but goes away when you stop thinking of battery-powered cars as alien technology. The infrastructure may not be as common as gas stations, but it's easier than ever to find a charging station, at least in California. And for those of us who can charge at home, driving an EV becomes even more practical. Before heading to Palm Springs, we stopped at an EVgo fast charging station and added approximately 17 kWh, which increased the battery pack's state of charge from about 55% to 83%. Indicating 185 miles of range, the Mach-E made its way toward the desert resort city. Our vehicle settings were one-pedal driving, whisper, comfort, mode, air conditioning at the lowest fan speed, and all driver assistance systems switched on. The goal was not to meet or beat an EPA rating, but rather to drive the Mach-E as a gas-powered vehicle and treat it with some sense of normalcy. The ride quality is as smooth as sliding across a marble floor in your socks. Forward visibility is impeccable, further enhanced by a high seating position afforded by the figure-hugging driver's seat. Whenever we came upon a cluster of slower-moving cars on the highway, passing them offered us a chance to put the pedal to the metal. Hammering the accelerator sends the electric Mustang surging ahead in a very satisfying way. The suspension soaks up every road imperfection, and the steering has a comfortable heft. The EV charging experience. After our 113-mile drive, which included a detour to the store, there were 75 miles of range when we arrived in Palm Springs. On the highway, our average speed was roughly 70 miles per hour, and on occasion, higher. Conveniently, The Palm Springs Visitors Center has an EVgo fast charging station. When we plugged in and completed the payment process, the message on the machine read "Charge failed." The issue led us to search for another charging station in the area. Finding one was not difficult using the Next EV Charge app on the Mach-E touchscreen infotainment system. At the second location, the machine froze in the processing payment stage. We called EVgo customer service for assistance, and they immediately had a representative on the line. After we explained the issue, the rep was able to troubleshoot the charger and process the payment over the phone. She stated that had we called EVgo from the first station, they could have helped. The entire process took 15 minutes, and the Mach-E battery was now charging. About an hour into charging, the session ended. It cost $16.20 to increase the battery's state of charge from 30% to 83%. Following dinner, the time had come to return to Los Angeles. A Detroit-style playlist featuring AC/DC, ZZ Top, and Journey with a side of caffeine kept us awake all the way home. Don't underestimate the electric pony. Charging and going on a long trip requires a bit more planning than filling at a gas station, but it's not a huge inconvenience. For anyone thinking of making the transition to an electric-powered vehicle, you may want to consider the 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E. The starting price is $43,995 before federal tax credits, state rebates, and available incentives. Whether the Mach-E is a real Mustang or not is irrelevant. How confident do you feel driving it? Does it check all the boxes: safety, range, interior, styling, equipment, etc.? These are the things that matter. At its recent IA's top safety pick overall rating, and this midsize electric SUV is one not to be overlooked.